two player ratings, starting off with Vicario. 6s all round for Big Vic. Fairly quiet day for Vicario, surprisingly enough. Did make a save towards the end of the first half where, it was kind of a routine save. Couldn't do anything with the goal that we conceded. Apart from that, didn't really have much to do.
Yeah, quiet day for him. I didn't barely touch the ball. I think the save he made was, as you say, low down to his right. Not much difficulty with that one. Other than that, really a quiet day. The majority of the game was played in Frankfurt's half, so didn't have too many saves. Don't even remember too much. He had to come out of his box to do any clearances or anything.
Next up, Pedro Porro. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Didn't cover himself in any glory, to be honest, for the goal that we conceded. He's got to be getting out quicker and he's got to be closing down his man. He let Ekitike just drift in there way too easily to be able to get his shot in. But after that, I think he really grew in the game. I just marked him down a bit for that moment because, it's a moment that did cost us, which is a reality. But putting in really dangerous crosses time after time, got the goal as well with a sublime finish, absolutely sublime finish. Good performance from Pedro.
Yeah, I think this is Porro when he's nearly at his best in that kind of performance. I thought that his quality out wide is probably why he was in the team in terms of the set pieces, the quality of delivery, on the head of Bentancur, on a plate for a few players. I think, did he take the free kick right at the end for Bentancur as well, which we nearly scored from? I thought the goal he scored, the back heel, beautiful finish as well. I thought it was a constant threat down that right-hand side. And actually, the times he was inverting really worked quite well. I thought Romero was finding him in between the lines on a few occasions, really asking different questions of Frankfurt. So really positive. But yeah, the goal wasn't great. I have a bit of sympathy because the strike is brilliant, and 9 times out of 10 that probably doesn't go in, and we're not even talking about this, but it did go in, and it's a great goal. And Porro has to take a bit of blame because he didn't close him down enough, and he allows him to just cut inside. But it wasn't exactly like he gave away a great chance. But look, at the end of the day, we conceded from it, and it was one of the few times they even got shots on goal. So, that'll be really frustrating that we allowed that to happen.
Yeah. Kuti Romero up next. 7s all round for Kuti. I think it was a fairly good display from Kuti. From a defensive standpoint, I felt like he was gobbling up their centre forward for fun at times. And kind of the moments where he was rushing up the field, he did lose the ball a couple of times in weird situations, but I felt I wanted a bit more from Kuti in terms of the way he dinks the ball into the midfield. Wasn't kind of as strong as maybe it has been in the past, but nevertheless, I still think he was massively important for the team yesterday and a really good performance.
Yeah, and I think him and Van der Ven and that partnership, you can really see it getting back together again. I think they did really well together. There was that one moment where Kuti was charging down the right like a right winger, didn't he?
Yeah.
He picked up the ball in that half space, and he looked around. There's no options. I'm just going to go myself, and he just burst into the box, and I think he ended up winning Spurs a corner, and that's kind of symbolises what Kuti's all about. I think he was getting involved in the game. One thing I was actually quite disappointed with was headers aerially. I actually thought Ekitike was winning a few too many headers for my liking. I thought he should have been dominating him, but I don't know. Maybe Ekitike is a bit taller than I thought because he was winning quite a few headers up against.
He is fairly tall. Yeah,
he was winning quite a few headers. I thought up against Romero.
He won 4 out of his 8.
Yeah, which you should be. I thought he'd be dominating, and that. If he could have won a few more of those headers, would have stopped Frankfurt going up the pitch, because it seemed as though every time they won a header in our half, it would fall to a Frankfurt player, and it just allowed them to get up the pitch a bit. So that was a bit frustrating. But other than that, I thought pretty good from Romero, and I think he's starting to get that a bit of consistency.
Mickey van der Ven up next. 7s all round for Mickey. I felt like he pretty much went about his business in the way we kind of expected. One of those crunching tackles in the second half, which was really important for us. And yeah, I thought it was defending really well, aerially dominant as well, which is really good for Mickey because, it's not always the case. But a big talking point is going to be that chance right at the end. He's got to put that in the back of the net. Really unfortunate.
Yes, Mickey. I can't believe he just mishit it. What an opportunity. That's just gilt-edged opportunity that 9 times out of 10 he buries. But on that occasion, I don't know what it is, but he just took his eye off the ball and didn't connect with it properly, and the chance goes begging. So I think he'll probably be having a sleepless night after that miss. But I thought defensively pretty on point. One thing I've noticed about Mickey, I don't know what it is. He seems as though, I don't know if he's slower, but there's something different about the way he runs. I'm noticing it because he definitely, first of all, doesn't seem to have to run back to as often as he did previously. He did have to do one time when he did definitely put the afterburners on, where it looked like Ekitike was away, and he just, when Mickey puts the afterburner, he's like, you know what, this guy ain't getting away. But he seems to not do that as often, put the afterburners on, and I wonder if that's something they've worked on. Because I feel like before this injury, like he was putting the afterburners on even when potentially it wasn't necessary, just to make sure he's getting there. And now he's maybe not doing it as much, which is
smarter about it.
Being a bit smarter about it, exactly. But it's also I feel like it's leaving the striker with a bit more of a chance, but he's still kind of managing the situation maybe better. So maybe that's kind of not putting as much pressure on his hamstring. So I wonder if that's something he's worked on. But I think overall, passing was pretty good. I think his partnership with Romero is getting back to the level it was earlier in the season. I think it's positive.
Destiny Udogie up next. Him gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Massively grew into that game in the second half. I thought he was brilliant in the second half. Bulldozing runs down that left-hand side, really hard to handle. He was aggressive, winning 100% of his duels on the day as well. He was just a bit unbeatable in that second half. And these are the levels that we wanted to see Udogie get back to. And is it any surprise that we're seeing Udogie get back to these levels on the back of those links to Man City?
Oh yeah, maybe there's something to that. But it was great to see him in this kind of form and with this kind of performance, because he was like untouchable down that left-hand side. So strong, but also I think what was really impressing me was his footwork, which we haven't seen that in a while. He's been so sloppy on the ball and looking sluggish ever since he's kind of returned from that injury. But in this game, it was like he had a new lease of life. It was like some sort of weight was lifted off his shoulders. I don't know what it was, but there was nutmegs there. He was linking up with Son really impressively. He was getting into the box consistently, adding quality there as well, putting some really good crosses across the face of goal. And I thought defensively, they had very little down that side. I don't remember too much. I think Götze, not Götze, it was Bahoya, who was kind of one down that side looking to hurt him, and I thought he had him in his pocket. Obviously, the worry did start to cramp up a bit late in the game, and maybe the amount of running he was doing was causing that, and Spence came on. But I thought it was a really, really strong showing from Udogie. And if he plays like that week in, week out, that's why we rate him so highly, because he's got that level, he's capable of that level. So let's hope we're going to see more of that.
Yeah, Rodrigo Bentancur up next. 8 all round for Bentancur, and that was his best performance in a while, in my opinion. Really, really high level performance from Rodrigo Bentancur in every phase of his game, from his defensive phase to the attacking phase. He was implementing both really well. It seemed like this guy just did not stop running for 90 minutes or however long. Yeah, he did play 90 minutes yesterday, and so aggressive, winning the majority of his duels. He was the target for pretty much the majority of our set pieces, aerially dominant in those situations as well. It's a shame that he doesn't end the game with either an assist or a goal, because I think his performance deserved it, and I think he ran that midfield yesterday.
Yeah, I think he was phenomenal, and that's the kind of Bentancur we want to see. And I think on the ball, looking as confident as ever, the way he was scanning, like in terms of on the pitch, being on the half turn, taking the ball confidently, being press resistant, playing it into space, but also I thought defensively, I think the stats show it. I mean, 7 out of 11 ground duels, 10 recoveries, 4 out of 4 tackles won as well, 4 interceptions. The guy was absolutely everywhere. And I thought that was the kind of performance where, he showed he can get around the pitch needed. He wasn't getting overrun. I thought he was fantastic. And I think he really worked well with the midfield 3 as well, and with the fullback. So I thought definitely one of his better displays in a while. And one of the first time you're seeing him recently where he's not getting caught out in space and he's not doing the wrong things. I thought very much a performance which very encouraged me in terms of him in the 6.
Lucas Bergvall up next. Him gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. He just kept growing and growing and growing as the game wore on. I thought he was brilliant in that second half. Like I said before in the match review, he's always the one that's trying to kind of up in the tempo, quicken the pace of the game and just drive the team forward. And yesterday was no different. He was a bit, particularly in the second half, very unplayable that effort that he had on goal. Oh my God, if that goes in, that is a goal worthy to win any sort of tie over 2 legs, never mind 1 leg.
Yeah, I think he was definitely growing into the game. I thought he was fairly quiet in the first half without doing too much wrong, but I thought he, definitely wasn't, showing what the qualities that we know that he does, when being that fearless player who's taking people on, and maybe he was too concentrated and just being in the right position defensively and kind of being smart tactically, because he wasn't getting those further forward positions. But I thought second half that kind of changed, and it kind of changed in that moment where he gets the ball, he's got two players either side of him, and he just waltzes through the middle. He kind of does this Cruyff turn through the middle of both those players into the space, runs towards the penalty area and cracks this unbelievable shot which just smacks the post, and that would have just been one of the goals of the tournament probably. So he was so unlucky, and Udogie should have really shot on that follow-up. I don't know what he's thinking, I didn't even mention that, but he should really be shooting in that follow-up. Then I thought after that moment, you saw the best of Bergvall. All of a sudden, he was confidently asking for the ball. He was making things happen, quickening up the play. And that is what Bergvall's all about. And I thought box to box, he was phenomenal. I think probably a bit better on the ball than he was off the ball, but still pretty good off the ball. And that's why Bergvall, even when he's not maybe playing his best game, he's still having a really strong performance, and that's why this guy is one of the first names in the team sheet at the moment, because this guy, his ceiling is scary.
All right, let's get into James Maddison on the player ratings, and Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. I think from the off, you really saw what yesterday meant for James Maddison, and I think, like I said before with Bentancur, I really wanted the senior players to step up, and I think Maddison, you could see from the off, he was just bang at it. He was trying to drive the team forward. He was key part in the goal that we scored, and he was a creative outlet for the majority of the game. I would have liked to see him take a few more shots and be a bit more of a goal threat. He took one shot on the day that didn't really trouble the keeper, but I thought he did his job well.
I thought he had a great game. I thought definitely on the ball, he was one of our better players for sure. The way he takes the ball, gliding past players that are not even there. He's one of the few players in our squad who's capable of doing that. And it was really a sight to behold on a few occasions yesterday, the way he was weaving in and out of players. I thought the assist was brilliant for the first goal. I thought the way he made room for the shot in the second half, where he cut inside a little chop, that famous Maddison chop, now it's becoming a trademark, and forced a good save out of the keeper. So that was really unlucky as well. I thought whenever he was getting the ball, he was making things happen, and he was causing problems for Frankfurt. It was a shame probably he was taken off with 10 minutes to go. He didn't look happy about it, that's for sure. He looked unhappy on the touchline, which is kind of understandable, because I thought he was having a good game, but I also did think he was starting to wane a bit in influence for the 5 to 10 minutes before he got taken off. So can understand both sides, but I thought it was a really great game. So I thought a really strong showing from Madders.
Brennan Johnson up next. 4s all round for Brennan, and it was a poor display from him, to be honest. The one notable moment of the game is obviously when Spence pulls it back to him, and he really needs to be put it in the back of the net. That's really his bread and butter. But apart from that, I felt like he failed to make an impact.
Yeah, agreed. That was his big moment, really, because we know that Brennan doesn't really do much in games, and especially kind of in terms of in general play, he can be a bit quiet. But when it comes to him in those moments, he's usually clinical, and that's what we kind of praise him for putting those chances away. But he didn't do it. Ballooned it over the bar. I was surprised, to be honest, even though Son wasn't having a great game, I was surprised that he was the one that was taken off instead of Johnson, because I thought Johnson was just so quiet. At least Son was trying to get on the ball and trying to make things happen, whereas Johnson was not doing much, to be honest. So he was probably a bit better in the second half than he was in the first half, but still not saying much. It was a poor display in the end.
Sonny up next. 5s all round for Sonny, and I was getting a bit frustrated with him, to be honest. I felt like a lot of the times he was getting the ball in good positions, and his passes and crossing was just completely off it on the day. He did have that one chance that forced a really good save out of the keeper, and another day that maybe bends around a keeper. But and I thought he was a bit weak in the duels and in the challenges. But we need Sonny to start stepping up now. We really do. Yeah,
I think in general it wasn't fantastic from him. There was some good things. I thought obviously he played the ball to Solanke for the goal, which to be honest wasn't a great ball. Solanke had to do well to keep it in. I thought he actually did well to link up with Udogie a few occasions. There was a few times he played some really nice outside of the boot passes into Udogie when he got in behind. And obviously that effort on goal, which was you have to say it's a brilliant save from the keeper. One-handed tips over the bar. But obviously we know Sonny, and on occasion he would have put that right in the corner rather than just give the keeper a chance, which he did, which was a bit of a shame. But in general, yeah, I thought when he had his chance to get into the final third and deliver the ball, wasn't fantastic actually. And I thought his corners specifically weren't great. There was one moment, I think it was in the second half, where we had them piling on the pressure, decides to take this short corner for some reason, and end up passing it to Maddison, who was offside, and all of a sudden the momentum kind of dissipated. So that was really frustrating. You saw Ange getting frustrated with that on the touchline. Wasn't all bad, but in general, expect more from him.
Yeah, on a note with Sonny's corners, there was one stage of the season where like every single one seemed to be on point. And the last couple of games, they've been really frustrating, to be honest.
Yeah.
Dom Solanke up next, 5s all round for Dom. And I'm getting increasingly frustrated with Dom, to be honest. I thought first half, he was putting himself about well and he was getting involved in the action. And then second half, I thought his influence was just weaning throughout the game. He had that one kind of effort with the header that went straight at the keeper. It would have been unbelievable for him to make a serious effort out of that. But yeah, he's just not too much of a goal threat, and that's what we need from our number 9.
Yeah, and that was a big shame as well, because I thought he wasn't getting too involved in the goal mouth action. I thought in general play was okay, but not. I've seen him play better. Did well for the first goal. I thought did well to keep it in. I mean, the only goal of the game, obviously, but did well to keep it in and find Maddison. So that was good. But other than that, wasn't too involved. Well, I think what he was good at is drawing the attention towards him, leaving space for other players. And I think that's where you saw Maddison get more involved in the central areas, and he was picking up different spaces. So it's not to say that he's still not doing a job for the team. I think he is, but especially the fact that he hasn't really scored a goal in a while, and he needs that confidence boost. The fact that he's not getting too involved in the goalmouth action is a bit of a worry. So want to see more of him in front of goal.
Yeah, and those player ratings just represent kind of what we were saying. Just the front three, just really kind of letting us down on the day, really. But let's move on to the substitutes. Spence came on for Udogie, 7s all round for Spence, and I felt like we needed that extra energy at that point in the game, and Spence definitely did that, created a really good chance for Brennan Johnson, which should have led to a goal, and he was just a bit of a live wire down that left-hand side.
Yeah, brilliant kind of run and pull back for Johnson, which Johnson should have been scoring that, so that was really great, and I thought Udogie obviously was pulled up with cramp and he needed to be came off, and it's great to have an option there in Spence, who can basically the quality doesn't really drop now when Spence comes in. In fact, you can even some argue it increases. So I thought it was a good cameo from him, really livened the game up, and it was a shame we just didn't get that winner. Yeah,
Tell came on around similar time, I think on the same minute, and 6s all around for Tell. He didn't do anything like groundbreaking, but what he did do, I think, was again add a bit of extra energy to that left-hand side. He was getting the ball, he was trying to take on men, he was trying to press the issue and bring us forward and up the pitch. There was one frustrating moment where it looked like he knocked it past the defender and it just went out of play, played the ball out of play. But yeah, he did add a bit of extra energy without really adding too much quality.
Yeah, I think he looked bright, and I think he looked like maybe something could happen with him with the ball at his feet. He played a nice ball to Spence, which set up the chance for Johnson, so he was involved in that move as well, and played a few decent balls kind of into the box, into the back post, but nothing really came with them. But they were, you could see there was good kind of technique on them, but unfortunately nothing much was made of it. Could have done with a bit longer on the pitch, I think.
Yeah,
was an issue. I think 10 minutes kind of wasn't enough, and this referee was in no mood of giving any more extra time, was he, in this on this occasion? But yeah, I thought he looked bright, but unfortunately just wasn't enough time.
Yeah. And then Pape Matasar, 6s all round for Pape, came on again, a bit similar to the other subs, did add extra energy, and yeah, was just running about the place, but didn't get too involved. I think he had about 5 touches or something on the ball.
Yeah, again, he was also involved in the move that nearly got Johnson a goal, and I think we were signed to Wayne a bit in the middle, and he just was coming onto the pitch and snapping at the heels of some of the Frankfurt players and putting a bit of pressure on. So he looked decent as well, but yeah, it wasn't too much time.
And finally, Ange Postecoglou, 6s all round. Maybe he can count himself a bit unlucky to only get a 6, because it's kind of like relying on the player, because if the players put the ball in the back of the net, we're probably rating Ange like an 8 or something in this game, and we go and win the game comfortably. But that wasn't the case. We didn't put the chances away and we didn't win the game, and we're only taking a draw out to Frankfurt. Obviously, question marks were on his team selection before the game, not leaving out Spence, which didn't really hurt us. So you can say it's not a bad decision to leave out Spence, because the quality didn't really drop that much, if at all, because Udogie had a very good game. So I think, that's not really a blot against his name. But what really frustrated me was game management in terms of waiting for the energy to sap out the team before making the changes. I think most people could see from the stands that we needed changes in the front line quite early on, at least with 20 minutes to go or something. And he waited and waited and waited until 10 minutes to go. And it just wasn't enough time, really. But look, credit to Ange for producing a bit of a performance out the team. Definitely the better side on the day. And on another day, we'd probably go and win that game quite convincingly, which is a shame. But it does give you a bit of hope going into the second leg.
Yeah, and I think as well, the first half wasn't particularly pretty, albeit I don't think it was bad. It was probably an even game. And then once we kind of figured them out, second half we were much better and should have put them to the sword and killed the game in that second half, but unfortunately we didn't do that. I think I agree with you. The big frustration is waiting until 10 minutes to go to make the subs when could have been at least 10 minutes earlier, especially with Son and Johnson and even Solanke, none of them really having great games. So they could have definitely been changed a bit quicker. Maybe that could have forced the issue. And as well, we could have kind of re-established our energy when it started to wane, probably on the 70th minute mark or so. But he is unlucky because if we put some of those chances away, we win that game comfortably, and that's not all his fault. And to be fair to him, after we did make those changes, we did kind of go again, and we made some chances after that moment, and we could have scored after the subs. So I think the subs did make an impact when they came on, but unfortunately, it just wasn't really for long enough. The in-game management was that was the frustrating thing. I think the subs themselves, I think, did all right, and I think they're probably the right changes, but could have just been the timing was a bit off and could have been a bit earlier, which was frustrating. But I think the way we managed the game was actually pretty good overall in terms of the fact it was close. We went 1-0 down. We came back pretty quickly, and then we kind of dominated them in that second half and created numerous chances. And also the fact we restricted Frankfurt to so little was really encouraging. So, look, if we see more performances like that, I'm going to get back on board, that's for sure. And the second leg is absolutely crucial to that, of course, especially for the belief within the squad and in the fan base that, you know, we can play like this regularly. But I like what I saw. It was very much similar to how we were playing earlier in the season. And that's why I believe Ange ball looks like when it's working, but just needs to work more often.
So just to make this clear, you're not back on board just yet?
Getting closer. I'm itching to be back on board. I want to. I don't want to be on this side. I'm itching to get back on board. Just get through Frankfurt.
Any excuse you can.
Absolutely. Any sort of win where we get through.
Why don't you just go back to that side then?
Because I'm not there yet. I'm still angry at him for that ear cup. I'm still angry at him. But if we get through this tie, I'll forgive him.
All right, you heard it here first. If we beat Frankfurt in the second leg, Sim will be back to Ange in. But that is our player ratings. We are going to move on and see how the internet did react to the game yesterday and a few